Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of Programming and Algorithms. In this episode we'll look at iteration, and in particular we'll look at the while loop. So let's start with the basic program to print the numbers 1 to 5. Now we could do this clearly by just going print quotes 1. Nothing wrong with this. This is perfectly okay. It's certainly one way of doing it. P1, 2, 5. And run it. But as if we want to do 100 or 1,000, we'd have to do 1,000 print statements. It'd get very boring typing it all in. So what we can do is create a variable called a and give it the value of 1. And then we'll say print a. Let's save that and run it. And it's printed out the number 1. So we want a to add 1. So if we say a gets a plus 1 and then print that, it's going to print a, then it's going to add 1 to a and print a again. So that's 1 and 2. So we could, for 2, for 3, for 4, for 5, do it like this, save, and run. And that's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. But we can compress this into a while loop by saying while a is not equal to 6. We'll do as a comment print a, add 1 to a, and the loop will do all of these iterations without us having to explicitly state them. So what are we saying? We're saying a is assigned the value 1 and keep on looping while a is not 6. Print out a, add 1 to a. A starts off as 1, we add 1 to it, it becomes 2, then we add 1 to it, it becomes 3, becomes 4, becomes 5, then we print out 5, then we add 1 to it, it becomes 6, and then a is 6, so then it stops looping then. So let's save this and run it. Oh yeah, we need a colon there, because all conditions terminate with colon. Save it and run it, and it prints out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the best thing about this is if we want to print out the numbers 1 to 100, we just change this to 101. Save and run. Boom, prints out the numbers 101. If we want to do as far as 1,000, we just change that to 1,001. Save and run it. So that's a very neat little way of printing out as many values as you want. So if we want to add up the numbers from 1 to 1,000, what we could do is add another variable in called total and start total as 0. And then, as well as printing out let's say that total is assigned total plus a. So what does that mean? Well, total starts off as 0 and a is 1. So the first time total is assigned 0 plus 1, which is 1. A gets 1 added on. Then total, which is 1, gets the value of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So this will add up all the numbers from 1 to 1,000. So if we, outside the loop, print out in quotes total is, comma, total, that should tell us what the numbers 1 to 1,000 summed is. And it's 50, 500,000 and 500. Let's get rid of the print A and see how much faster total runs then. Boom. It's very fast, so that's added up all the numbers. Let's add up the numbers 1 to 5 just to confirm what we're doing is correct. So, run. So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, and plus 5 is 15, so that works. So that's an accumulating variable, that total. It's called an accumulator because you add the other variables' values into it. Alright, let's try a new program now. We'll do factorial. So we'll go program factorial. And instead of assigning a value, let's get one in. So, because factorial multiplies each value by itself, total will start off as 1 this time, instead of 0, which it was the last time. And now we're going to keep on decrementing A until it reaches 0. So that's the start of the factorial program. So for factorial, because we're multiplying, we're going to multiply total. Starts off as 1 by A, whatever value is typed in, and instead of incrementing A, we're going to decrement it. We'll keep going to count down until we get to the end. So let's save this and run it. Now 1 factorial works out to be 1. 2 factorial works out to be 2. 3 factorial is 3 by 2 by 1, which is 6. 4 factorial is 4 by 3 by 2 by 1. 5 factorial is 5 by 4 by 3 by 2 by 1. So there you go. That's the factorial program. It's quite like the previous program, except we're doing multiplications, except additions, and therefore total starts off as 1 instead of 0. So that's the while loop. Let's do the for loop now. So let's do program. Let's do the first program again, and let's do counting from 1 to print 1 to 5. And instead of while, we're going to go for A in range 1, 6. And we'll do print A. And for and end and dot. So the for loop works by saying this is the start of the list, this is the end of the list, and if we don't give it an incrementer, it assumes we increment by 1. Let's give that a run. Sorry, we should also have colon after the condition again. So save and run. And it prints out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 11. File, save, and run. So to print out the numbers 1 to 10. Now if we say increment by 2 instead of 1, it'll just print 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9. And it won't do 11 because it stops at 10. We could say increment by 3 each time. And I suppose one other thing we could do is, instead of, let's say, counting from 10 to 1, we could count from 1 to 10. But we need the increment now to increment by -1 or decrement. In other words, add -1 on each time. If we run that, we see it goes 11, 10, 9, 8. So let's start at 10. Save and run. That gets you from 10 to 2. So 10 to 0. Save and run. Gives you 10 to 1 going backwards. So that's some of the ways you can use the for loop. So thanks very much. That's iteration. We'll see you on the next episode of Programming and Algorithms.